afternoon. Thanks for joining us across the fence. I'm Fran Stoddard. The pandemic has been hard on everyone, creating increased stress and anxiety and fueling a mental health crisis in our country. To help us consider what mental health challenges we face now and how to manage COVID stress, we welcome Alex Carambellis, the project manager of COVID Support VT, and psychologist Kath Burns, who is the clinical supervisor to COVID Support VT. Thank you both for being with us today, and welcome.
Thanks,
Fran.
Thank you
so much for having us.
So, Alex, just let's begin. What is COVID Support VT?
Absolutely. So COVID Support VT is a statewide grant tasked with helping mitigate the mental health impacts of the pandemic. We are funded by FEMA, managed by the Vermont Department of Mental Health, and then administered by Vermont Care Partners, which is a network of 16 different community-based nonprofit agencies.
Right, throughout the state. And how long has the program been running? Because this is very specifically about COVID.
Absolutely. We began, would have been the summer right as COVID was beginning in 2020, so right around June.
And what services does COVID Support VTs provide?
Well, we provide a whole host of services. I say primarily we have support counselors that are actually embedded in a call line within 211. They provide entirely free, anonymous emotional support to anybody Monday through Friday. They do a lot by way of referral to other different community resources. They help folks fill out benefits, services, applications. And then they also do a lot with workshops and support groups. They host them daily on different topics related to health and mental health and wellness. And they also do a lot by way of active outreach to different communities who've been most impacted by the pandemic.
Right, and with these, your interpreter services, you actually have Spanish-speaking people who are also specifically, though all languages you guys manage.
Absolutely, we do indeed. And that service is embedded within WhatsApp, which has been really wonderful. There's a lot of folks from the Spanish-speaking community that use WhatsApp to communicate with family back home. So we do have that program up and running, and our Spanish outreach does a lot by way of outreach to different clinics, to migrant farm worker sites. So it's definitely a very comprehensive program for the Spanish-speaking community as well.
Fantastic. So, Kath, how are Vermonters doing now, given all the uncertainties and the Delta variant and winter approaching?
Yeah, it's really been a wild time, hasn't it, Fran? I would say, first of all, throughout the pandemic, people have absolutely found this to be one of the most stressful times of their lives, with almost everyone saying the stress has increased over the course of the pandemic. And we also know that our frontline workers and our essential workers really have been struggling because a lot of them never got a break when many of us did during the summer. But let's just look at a few facts that could help us kind of orient to your question. So first of all, we run these polls. Well, we don't. The Kaiser Family Foundation does, to try to understand the mental health of people in our country. And what you see in front of you is a slide looking at the percent of people who endorse symptoms of anxiety and depression at different times. So on the left, you see that from January to June, about 11% of the adults responding endorsed these symptoms. But you'll see in January on the right, that number jumped to 41% of adults responding were experiencing symptoms of and/or anxiety and depression. Now, we know that persons of color, we know that people who are new to our country experience these symptoms at a higher rate. But if we go to the next graphic, you'll see that we also see a huge difference between people depending upon what age they are. And what you see on the left, what you see on the left are people who responded to the questionnaire between the ages of 18 to 24. And they're actually reporting the highest percentage of anxiety and depression out of everybody who responded. And we really think because the task of this particular age group is to get out and be independent and start their lives. And many of them have not been able to do that or had their efforts thwarted as they stayed home from college or had to move back home or any variety of things. So that's been a tough experience for them.
Yeah, I just have to support that. I felt so strongly for that age group, but to see that they're also feeling it so deeply.
Yes. Yes,
it really having such issues is, so we really need to think about that group and be supportive of them. And then, of course, as you mentioned, the essential workers are also people who are on the front line are exhausted. So let's look at that chart.
Yes, thank you for putting that chart up. I think it's really important. So just to remind your viewers, an essential worker is essentially somebody that has to go to work. they can't telecommute for their job, right? So you're talking about people in your grocery store who pump your gas, who are your healthcare providers, and they're in the orange on this graph. And the left-hand bunch there is the percentage of people who are endorsing symptoms of anxiety and or depressive disorder. And you'll see that essential workers, 42% of them are, compared to 30% of non-essential workers. The middle group there, you'll see, is about the percentage of people who are saying they've used substances more during this time. And again, you see our essential workers are endorsing that higher, with 25% saying they have been. And most concerning is the group on the right, which is the percent of people who seriously considered suicide in the last 30 days. And here we say our essential workers, 22% of them said they did seriously consider dying by suicide over the last 30 days, which is really concerning compared to 8% of non-essential workers.
Absolutely, it's really alarming. So these are interesting statistics. And Kath, what have you seen that's changed about what you're hearing about concerns now with fall approaching, with the Delta variant happening?
Yeah, through the project, it's, obviously stress is the constant theme, and how do I manage this? But it's not my term to coin. I read this term called, people are experiencing emotional whiplash, this notion of, you can get back out there. Oh, no, you can't. Or, oh, it's safe to go out. Oh, but we're not really sure. And so it's been really stressful for people. And as winter comes and the holidays come and the Delta variant is currently surging, hopefully we're turning the corner here, people are really starting to worry. And we noticed that people have really wondered how to handle social environments, both at their work and just socially in their lives. They worry about whether or not they're going to make someone sick with the breakthrough infections that have been occurring. And a lot of people are spending time reevaluating what they want to do, how they want to spend their time, and who they want to spend their time with. It's really an interesting time. And that, the idea here is that many of us are experiencing almost this collective fear, this collective fatigue of, oh, we've been doing this for so long and now I've got to keep going. And how am I going to handle this if the winter comes? But, we absolutely can cope with this. And we'll talk about that in a little bit later.
Right, absolutely. And Alex, what concerns you the most? What are you seeing?
Absolutely. I would say that one of the things that's most concerning to me is the economic backlash that's happened as a result of the pandemic and the effect that that has on our mental health. As an example, food insecurity has increased by 33% during the pandemic. According to a recent study, 1/5 of Vermonters are currently worried that they will lose their homes to eviction or foreclosure. And so that definitely all has a huge impact on our mental health. There's actually a very fancy term for this. It's called the social determinants of mental health. And it's basically the idea that there are aspects of our lives, our ability to have stable housing, our access to food, our ability to have adequate employment or access to childcare and other resources. All of these different aspects combined impact our ability to cope with daily stressors. And this makes sense because if our needs aren't being met, of course, we're going to have a more difficult time coping. So we know that the social determinants of mental health are particularly concerning for groups who face disparities in these categories. This is definitely the case for new Americans and people of color who face disparities across all determinants of health. So that's definitely something that's quite concerning.
So there's certainly some vulnerable populations that you've just mentioned, the essential workers and youth. So Kath, what tips can you offer to help all of us, but also to help us support those vulnerable populations?
Absolutely. First of all, you'll see on your screen a list of things that you can do each day. And I want to comment that you can download this list from our website, and you'll see the link to that at the end of the show. Now, you can really, a lot of this is about preventing things from getting worse. And you can do this by trying to do a few of these simple things each day. And if this is easy for you to do, grab somebody who you think might be having a harder time doing these things and model it for them or invite them to do them with you. One is by doing something you enjoy every day. And if you don't enjoy anything anymore, think of something you used to like and make yourself do it for 15 minutes. Another is to let your mind stop, just pause for a moment. And people use apps for that. Some people use prayer or meditation. Some people just stop, get up, stretch, and look out the window. Just let your mind stop. The third is to make sure you continue to connect with people outside of your home and outside of your work, because they're your network of support and you're a support to them. And that's as simple as a phone call or a text. It helps. Let yourself experience mastery. Do one thing every day from start to finish. It could be making your bed or doing the dishes. It should not be trying to answer all of your email, because that's a never-ending task. Let yourself experiencing finishing something. Try to exercise your body for some other reason besides being stressed. All right, so take a walk, do yoga in your chair, do a class, whatever that is. Move your body, get your heart rate up. It'll make you feel better. Try to rest, try to follow a sleep schedule, try to avoid, drinking caffeine right before bed, and keep your electronics out of your room. It really helps. Eat well, try to shop the outside aisles of the store. And if you're a person living with food insecurity, please call 211 so they can connect you with resources. Fueling your body helps you manage stress better. And then the last two I would offer is, one is practice gratitude. Regularly look up and notice one thing you're grateful for. Some people use apps for that, but it can be as simple as setting a timer on your watch or phone to go off once an hour to make you look up and go, oh, I'm grateful for whatever it is that's in front of you. And then the last thing is to really watch your relationships with your substances of choice, whether it's caffeine or alcohol or other things. If you notice your substance use has changed or increased, try something else on this list, or talk to someone who knows you or that you trust to help you with that.
Fantastic, Kath. And we're almost out of time. So quickly, Alex, how can people get in touch with you? And if we have time, we'll mention the workshops.
Absolutely. So folks can get in touch with us by calling 211, selecting option 2 Monday through Friday. They'll be connected to a support counselor through that line. They can also visit us on our website to learn more about our workshops and other offerings. And that is at covidsupportvt.org. We also have a live chat up on that site. So if you're just looking to speak with someone, you're not quite sure if you should be giving us a call, feel free to message us on that platform as well. You can see our whole list of offerings for workshops through there.
Awesome. Thank you both, Alex and Kath, for keeping us together. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you
so much, Fran.
And thank you for joining us across the fence. I'm Fran Stoddard. Stay well.